I know you heard me on the radio. Flexing, she loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio. Flexing, she loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
Dolphins fans, football fans, anybody interested in just talking football on a eventful Sunday, welcome to Phin-Addict Fury. I'm your host, Larry K. I'm currently sitting here decked out because I have to go to work soon, got to go to court, but it's not work hours yet, so I'm just recording this early morning video for anybody interested in just talking football. It's kind of fun, on a Sunday where Miami wins on Thursday. You don't really need to worry about Miami and obsess over them and consistently watch that game. You can kind of browse around. And I love having an NFL Sunday ticket, which enabled me to kind of, go back and forth on some of the games and whatnot. And it was a crazy Sunday. Let's start with the Sunday night game. How about the Chiefs? Is Mahomes back? Is Mahomes back? Because they rolled over the Raiders. And, you got to feel bad for Raiders fans at this point because they started off really well. It looked like they had this regime in place that was finally starting to find its stride in Gruden. Gruden obviously does what he does. He has to leave. And now they have this weird void in the front, in coaching, in the front office, et cetera, and a lot of uncertainty with what's to come next. And they seemed to be okay at first, but now they really look to be stumbling a little bit. They were upset last week. And then yesterday, the Chiefs just roll over them, 41-14. Mahomes rebounds, throws 4 touchdowns. The Chiefs were another question mark as of recent, right? They entered as probably the AFC favorite, maybe neck and neck with the Bills. Now you have Tennessee, and I'll talk about them in a little bit. Now you have Tennessee kind of at the top seed, but we know that position is precarious because they lost Henry, so who knows how long they're going to be able to sustain that. Although, after having rooted for Ryan Tannehill for so long, I just got to still root for Tanny, and I got to hope that Tanny pulls through and that Tanny does well. And I just, what it is about the Titans is I just like the way the Titans play football. I got to be honest with you. I've been a football fan my whole life, and I almost miss the old school way of playing, which is what I told you guys the other day when we were talking about the Miami-Baltimore game, how it was kind of an old school football game, where the crowd energy was high and the emotions were high and they could get into it, not because it was an offensive shootout, but because it was a game of inches. It was an old school football defensive game, a game of leverage, a game of the line of scrimmage. And I like that kind of football. And the thing is with Tennessee, they have those big receivers. They had Henry before he went down. They play good defense. They play that pro-style type offense. And I don't mean that in the literal sense, but, in the old school pro type sense. So I like rooting for them. So Tennessee's at the top seed, but we know that they may not stay there, okay? They may not stay there. They did pretty well. They have a good record. They've done okay since Henry went down, but how long can that last? That's what we got to wonder. How long can that last? So after them, then you have the Bills, and the Bills dominated the Jets. Absolutely dominated the Jets. And with the Titans, by the way, they came away with that win by the skin of their teeth. The Saints, if the Saints had gotten the 2-point conversion and tied the game up, then we would have gone into overtime, and perhaps, who knows, maybe we'd be having a different conversation about the Titans today. But nonetheless, they pulled it out. So then after the Titans, you have the Bills. Bills rebounded nicely. And pummeled the Jets. And, there goes the Jets' whole thing about, look, Zach Wilson, forget him. Mike White's so much better. We found a different guy who, was a diamond in the rough. I'm not saying Mike's not going to be good. I'm not saying Wilson's going to be great. It's just Jets, and I don't mean that. Look, I feel bad for Jets fans too because they're just getting every year. They just, they're like us. It's which is sad, maybe even worse. But, Jets Nation, like Jets Radio and the general sentiments. We fight about things as Dolphins fans, is Tua the guy? Is Tua not the guy? Is, Flores great? Is he not? But at least we're kind of all centered, right? Like, we know this season isn't going very well, and there's not much of a silver lining, but we try to find the hope where we can. We try to be rational and critical. And if we win a game or two, we're happy about it, but we're not jumping for joy and acting like, oh, my God, the future is Super Bowl victories, multiple. With the Jets, it's always like, oh, they win one game or like one quarterback does okay. It's like, oh, my God, this guy, sky's the limit, MVP, guy's a future Hall of Famer. We're really turning the corner. What a great hire, like everything. On day one when they hire a coach, on day one when they get a quarterback, he's amazing without even seeing anything on the field. We have some of those people in Miami's fan base, some 2 years maybe. But for the most part, we want to see the results on the field before we make these determinations and these judgments. So whatever, the Jets got pummeled, and the Bills rebounded nicely. And so you got the Bills. So then the Chiefs beating the Raiders yesterday, it shows you, okay, can the Chiefs climb back up? Can the Chiefs climb back up in the AFC and kind of be one of those 4 or 5 teams like in high contention, or be one of those 3 teams in contention for the number 1 seed? We'll see. We'll see. They have not looked their usual selves most of this year, but yesterday was a good drubbing of a team that's a decent team, albeit with the problems I talked about before with Las Vegas. But we'll see. But Mahomes rebounding. We'll see how that AFC shakes out with all the moving parts. And that's kind of where we are now. Also with the AFC, an interesting point is, how about the New England Patriots, which as Dolphins fans we don't want to talk about, right? As Dolphins fans we don't want to get too much into, but hey, there's a lot of hype because I think people want, especially in the media world, Good Morning Football today, they were going all in about the Patriots. I think there's a vested interest in the media. They miss having New England be such a powerhouse for some reason. They long for those days. They want to talk about New England so badly. They want to talk about Belichick so badly. And New England won again. And don't look now, but New England, if they keep winning, they could be in the conversation, definitely for a playoff spot. It's a stretch to say the AFC East, but it's mathematically very feasible. And then the 1 seed, look, do I think that New England's going to wind up, taking the 1 seed or winning the AFC East? I got to say unequivocally, I think no. Do I think New England can make the playoffs? Unequivocally, I think yes. Is that sad for Dolphins fans? I say yeah. For the rest of the NFL, people are probably sick of the Patriots. I say, yeah, people are sick of them too, So, but look, Mac Jones, they so desperately want Mac Jones to be this franchise guy. They so desperately want Mac Jones to be this, second Brady for Belichick so he can make another grandiose run. And they probably want him to surpass Shula's record and all this other stuff. And we'll see. I'm not overly impressed with Mac Jones, but I am impressed with Mac Jones. Like, you have to be impressed with the guy. He stands in the pocket. He makes throws. He's developing. He stayed healthy most of the year. How can you not kind of be somewhat impressed by Mac Jones, And, it looks like he might be a good quarterback, or at least decent. And with a coaching staff like that, even though we want to hate on him, even though we want to say, hey, victory to Brady last year because the Patriots didn't do anything and Brady did something, well, you got to kind of look at New England and say, uh-oh, maybe New England's coming up. Maybe there's something we got to watch for with New England. So it's interesting. And back to Buffalo rebounded because they had lost to the Jags, which we had lost to the Jags. We were the ones who, snapped their losing streak, and all of a sudden they win. And, the Jags hung with Indy for a while. Indianapolis now, they started off the season looking like maybe they're one of the worst teams. And now they've come along, and Indianapolis is a very, middle of the road, it looks like mediocre team, but they're still making a wild card run, a playoff run at this point. They're not out of it. So you look at Indy, and not out of it by any means. Look at their division. Their division's terrible, so they're not out of it by any means. You got Tennessee at top, and then that's it. Everybody else, not too great. Houston's not good, and neither is, Jacksonville. So they have a chance at a wild card. I think Tennessee's going to take that division, but they got a chance at the wild card. But look, anybody who was counting Jacksonville out that quick, like 4 or 5 games into the season, they're saying, Urban Meyer is a loser, Urban Meyer is a jerk, and, people are saying all these jokes about him in the bar and all that. Look, Whether what he did in the bar was good or not because he's married. I mean, it's not like he did anything that was illegal or criminal or whatever in the bar. And then aside from that, whether he fails or succeeds, we don't know. Who knows if Urban Meyer is going to fail or succeed in the NFL? We've seen college coaches succeed, and we've seen more recently, especially, college coaches fail in the NFL. But Urban Meyer, to count him out a couple games in, when he's got one of the best quarterback prospects probably in a decade or so, who's only a few games in, and he is a legendary college coach, it's tough to just count him out so quickly. And so you see, they've won a couple games against formidable opponents, and they came close to beating Indianapolis yesterday, save for that fumble at the very end, which, Lawrence has got to learn some things and hold on to the ball better. But, they played with them, and they beat Buffalo. So, they're not anything this year, and hopefully they don't, because if they emerge again, it's just making it harder for us as Dolphins fans. But, hey, they're emerging, okay, and they're doing all right too. So it's silly to count out Urban Meyer this early, and it's silly to count out Lawrence this early. Let's see what they do over the next year and a half, and let's see, how they progress. But I'm not necessarily overly surprised, that they won a couple games. I mean, look who's their coach and all of that. That's kind of how things went there. Speaking of Brady and speaking of the whole Patriots thing, 3 interceptions did he throw? I don't have the exact number, but was it 3 interceptions Brady threw? And they got beat. So the Washington football team beat the Bucs, and the Bucs still have a really good record. The Bucs are still looking very good for the playoffs, but you got to wonder if you're starting to see some vulnerability. And I remember when Dan Marino started kind of getting on the decline. He was still Dan Marino, and he still had some games that were great, but I remember specifically, I think it was a Thanksgiving game, maybe against Dallas, was it? I think it was the Thanksgiving. I don't remember. Where he threw just 3 interceptions, and it was just a pummeling, and it just was bad. And you kind of saw that Dan was trying to do too much. He was still trying to be Dan, but he was coming to the end of the career, and it was just evident, and it was unavoidable, and it was coming downhill full speed at a rapid pace. And I'm not saying that's where Brady is right this minute. I mean, the guy just won a Super Bowl last year. But I'm saying that age and time will always win eventually. And Brady is quite old in terms of an NFL player. In NFL player terms, he's quite old, So he's going to win more games. I still think, obviously, they are going to make a playoff run. But, time will tell, and very short time from now, I think, will tell how much longer Brady can sustain his dominance in the league. I think Brady has something, where akin to Michael Jordan. And I used to hate saying this because he was in the division of my favorite team. And I used to hate saying this, and I hated acknowledging it. But I think Brady has some sort of internal spark with the team where he's a relentless competitor. And I really think he pushes those around him so hard, and he's so obsessed with winning that he brings that out of people. I do think he has that skill, because you know how hard it is? I don't care how good your team is. It is very difficult to go from the Patriots one year, the very next year, with the first new team you have, to win the Super Bowl. It's so hard to win the Super Bowl. Single elimination playoffs, hard to make the play. It's hard to win the Super Bowl in the NFL. And he goes right there in his first year with them, they win the Super Bowl. That's tough to do. But at the same time, the Bucs are a very stacked team. The Bucs are a talented football team. And we would be remiss if we didn't mention how talented they were on both sides of the ball. There's a lot of players that came in there just to play with Brady, and they're superstars. So you got to wonder, in a game like yesterday against the Washington football team, who had a pretty good game. You got to wonder, though, if Brady didn't commit all those turnovers, if there was a younger quarterback in there who was also elite, perhaps, would they have won? And at what point is it going to become evident that the team around Brady is good enough, but he's on a decline? I'm not willing to say it's right now. Every time he has a bad game, they jump into this. They said this when he was with New England, and then he goes and wins the Super Bowl. I'm not jumping into it too much, but it's there. And it's just something to keep an eye on. It really is. Speaking of the Patriots, by the way, I already talked about them, doing well and said look out. But Jesus, I mean, the score against the Browns was 45-7. It's 45-7. I mean, the Browns, they're another one of these teams that I think, like, if Miami the last couple of years was, like, mediocre on the low side of the playoffs, like, I feel like Cleveland's mediocre on the high side. Like, they're going to maybe Cleveland's like, Miami in the early 2000s, late 90s, where they're going to make the playoffs or they're close every year, but they just don't have what it takes to beat the next threshold or reach the next or vault the next threshold and really get up an echelon up to, a Super Bowl contender or a championship contender. They just got pummeled, and that was brutal. Cowboys bounced back. A lot of Cowboys fans around. I mean, and you got to give the Cowboys props. I mean, I think the Cowboys right now, they got to be liking their chances, especially seeing, look, LA's done well. LA, that trade for Stafford was a great trade in hindsight. And LA's doing well, the Rams, and I think LA has a shot. Of course they do. They're going to be in it till the end. They're going to make a run. But Dallas, if you're Dallas, you got to be feeling good. I mean, you got your quarterback, you got your running back, you got a great defense, you got good corners, you got good receivers. And Dallas, they had the tough loss last week, kind of the head-scratching loss, but then they rebound. They rebound in dramatic fashion this week and just pummel the Falcons. And look, the Falcons aren't a good team. But we played the Falcons. The Falcons aren't like a pathetically bad team, right? The Falcons might be kind of like Miami, actually. They got a crappy kind of record, but they're a decent team. They're a tough team, and on any given Sunday, they could play you hard. On any given Sunday, they might beat you. But Dallas just dismantled them, destroyed them. It was like a college score, 43-3. They didn't even let them get in the end zone, and they stacked points. 43-3, Dallas. Dallas, if you're a Dallas fan, you got to be happy. You got to be optimistic. And I know Dallas fans, especially Dallas fans, they don't want to get too far ahead of themselves because you never know what's going to happen. And it's happened to them before, many, many, many times before, including Dak's rookie year, the year with Romo where they made a run and then Arizona beat. They've made, they've had some tough end results in really good seasons. So I understand why. I mean, look, I'm talking specifically about one or two Dallas fans that are rational that I know that are like, look, I'm not getting too far ahead of myself. We all know Cowboys Nation out there. Every Sunday they want to just talk. Every Sunday, we them boys. All right. But, if you're a Cowboys fan, you got to kind of be excited. The way they came out and played to China, you look for teams to do that, right? Because it's any given Sunday in the NFL. Any given Sunday in the NFL, somebody could win a game they weren't supposed to win. Any given Sunday in the NFL, if you're not completely on your game or if you commit one too many turnovers, just because of whatever reason, you're having an off day, you're not perfectly on point, some of the team can beat you. And then people start questioning, oh, how good are they really? Are they pretenders? What you look for with teams that suffer those kind of losses in the NFL is you look for them rebounding. You look for them bouncing back. And Dallas did that. So if you're a Dallas fan, you really got to be optimistic about the year, but always with that foreboding feeling that, geez, when's the other shoe going to drop as far as when we're in the playoffs, etc. Hopefully that doesn't happen for them. I mean, if you're inclined to hope for them, I mean, I don't know if you are or not, but with the way the NFC is looking, with the Bucs falling and Brady looking like mortal as usual, but we'll see what he does later in the year. He kind of looked mortal at the beginning of last year too, and then he won the Super Bowl. But you got to be kind of hopeful. You have a crack. You have a crack at the home field advantage. You have a crack at contending for a championship. So you got to be encouraged if you're Dallas in the way they played yesterday. How about the absolute shit show? And I don't like to curse too much on this show, but I guess I can. But how about the absolute shit show that was Detroit? Like, what the hell was going on in Detroit Pit? Detroit Pit, man. They're in Pittsburgh. The terrible towels are flying everywhere. It's raining. But it's like no one wanted to win that game. It goes to OT, and I'm watching the game, and I gotta be honest. After that 66-yard field goal that beat Detroit when they really should have won, and you're like, what the hell? Detroit can't catch a break. Then they don't win since that game. It's been like 2 months since that game. They haven't won. I'm rooting for them. And I'm not a huge Steelers guy either. So, I'm rooting for Detroit. And I'm watching the game. And just it seems like nobody wants to win. They get a turnover, then they can't move the ball at all. They get into field goal range, and then they get a holding penalty, kicks them out of field goal range. Goff is just struggling, but he's getting no help either. The coach is pumped up. He's pissed off, and he's a good guy. We had him in Miami. And we're watching, and we're like, come on. Do something. Then they go for the field goal attempt, and you just knew in that weather, that kicker, the way the day went, you just knew he was going to miss it, and he didn't even miss it close. He just flubbed it. Then Pittsburgh gets the ball, and you're like, all right, you know what? It was a scare for Pittsburgh. It was a messy day. It's this cold rain. It's nasty out. And again, I love football. I love old school football. So for me, the cold, nasty rain, I'm all about it. Bring it on. I mean, whatever. But still, it was like just a crap game. And Pittsburgh gets it, and they start driving, and they drive pretty, decently in. And you're thinking, okay, they're going to kick a field goal. They're going to win this thing. Pittsburgh's going to say, all right, Detroit, that's it. And I was like, even though I was rooting for the Lions deserve to lose. Whatever. And then Pittsburgh throws that out route. He runs up the sideline. Bam, the ball's out. And, usually when the ball comes out in the sideline, it happens to almost always tumble out of bounds, or somebody recovers it, but part of their body's out of bounds, and, it stays with the team who had possession. This one, of course, it fumbles. The ball sits right next to the sideline, doesn't budge. Lions recover it easily. And then the Lions, basically, there's no time on the clock for them to do anything. So it's a tie. And honestly, how fitting that game was such a shit show. How fitting that ended in a tie. It should have ended in a tie. It makes sense that it ended in a tie. No one deserved to win that game. No one deserved to really lose that game. It is what it is. So Detroit now, at least they're not nothing but losses anymore. At least they're not on a losing streak anymore. But they still haven't won. So now they have a tie. And now Pittsburgh has a tie on their record against the Lions of all teams. Such a weird game. And I was rooting for the Lions, man. I hope at some point, and I have some Detroit fan friends, I really hope at some point they could pull it out, because it's just bad. It's just bad. I mean, can they do something? Vikings Chargers, I actually was watching the end of that one after the Detroit game, and I was watching. I kind of wanted to see Herbert have a chance to drive down the field to win the game. I wanted to see. I haven't seen him play in person, or at least live, that often. I was actually looking forward to seeing Herbert play on a final drive and see if he had what it took to drive and win the game. I think they said he had already 7 game-winning drives in his young career. So, but he didn't get the chance. Minnesota, Dalvin Cook. I mean, they're just when they want to run the ball, and when they're hitting on the right cylinders, they can run the ball. And when it came to crunch time, when they needed a first down, Minnesota basically prevented Herbert from even getting that chance. It's a little disappointing. I wanted to see if he got the chance. That was a good back and forth game amongst two teams. Maybe Minnesota's kind of on the decline. You'd like to say maybe LA Chargers are on the ascension, but we'll see how that goes. Seahawks Packers started off. It was close the whole game. Close the entire game, and then in the snow, which, by the way, again, old school football's coming. It's getting cold up here in the north. It's getting cold, and it started snowing in Green Bay. It's November. It's getting to that mid-November point. It's going to start snowing in places like Green Bay. We're going to see some snowy games soon. Started snowing, and the Packers just took off at the end. I mean, and they just closed the door on that one. The Seahawks are not having a very good year, and the Packers, despite certain distractions with the Aaron Rodgers vaccine drama and whatever else, I mean, they're still playing, and they're another one. They're one of those teams, the Packers, where some years you want to forget about them because they had an off year the year before, or they're kind of in middling or whatever, but they're still going to be there in the end. They're still going to be in the end of the season. They're still going to be in the conversation. They always are, so I could talk all I want about the Rams and Dallas and all that. And of course they deserve conversation because they're going to be there too. But, Green Bay is going to be there. They're always there. That's what they do. They never fail to do it. They're in the conversation. They had another good game. That is what it is. Eagles smashed the Broncos. What did you think was going to happen there? So I don't touch on every team, but I touched on a lot of them just because, I'm not going to do it all the time. How about the Panthers? The Cardinals, you're sitting Murray. I mean, you're sitting key players. So you can't really count it as a big deal. But the Panthers, Cam Newton scores on the first touchdown of the game. What were the odds on that? Somebody asked what the odds were on my social media stream. I mean, what were the odds? Did anybody have that bet? Because I wonder how they did if they had that bet. Cam Newton returning to Carolina after a failed bid to get Deshaun Watson. And by the way, the latest from Jay Glazer, did anybody hear that? I guess I'll have maybe a separate Fins-only show on that. But, I mean, did anybody see? Jay Glazer reporting, look, Carolina didn't care if he settled the lawsuits or not because they think maybe eventually they'll get settled anyway. They wanted to lock him down. He didn't want to even talk to Carolina. Miami insisted on the lawsuits being settled. They insisted on the lawsuits being settled. And you got to wonder if the offseason comes, is Miami still going to have that position? Is he going to be sour on Miami because of that? If other teams are willing to work with him and wait it out with him and kind of rock with him as he goes through the process, if the process resolves amicably as far as he's concerned, and if he really, if there are no criminal charges, is some team going to walk away with Deshaun Watson and because they were more willing to be patient with the process, are they going to get a really generationally changing quarterback? Or is some team going to get burned because they went ahead and took him before this was resolved, and then there are criminal charges, and then he can't play, and then it really is terrible? We'll see. But it's interesting that Miami was the ones asking for that, and Carolina wasn't, and that's the only reason it didn't happen with Miami. I mean, he would have been a Dolphin right now, and now that Miami's looking at a schedule that's somewhat favorable, where they could wind up at 500, realistically. I mean, is it likely? Probably not, because even though these teams are beatable, any given Sunday, we very well could lose. We could show up and lay an egg. We could lay an egg this weekend, which, by the way, I'll be there. I'll be at MetLife Stadium. I'll be there for the Jets-Dolphins this weekend. I'll send you guys a little video from the stadium. But can we flop? Yeah. But if we had Watson, I mean, would we be able to maybe make a run this year? I mean, I don't know about the playoffs, but like a decent run, a respectable run to get momentum going, maybe. So that's an interesting thing to look at. That's the latest from Glazer that came out this week. The only thing that stopped the trade, apparently the only thing that stopped the trade was Steve Ross demanding that all the lawsuits be settled. I mean, and I remember I talked about last week, could that have been a thing from the beginning? So maybe he could have been working on it, or was that a last-minute thing? I mean, Ross, always meddling. Ross, always involved. So that was just an interesting little tidbit there. But Carolina with Cam Newton pummeled the Cardinals. The Cardinals were out without key players. And let's not forget, it's funny, I just talked about all these NFC contenders, and I didn't even mention the Cardinals. Well, it's because I have these scores in front of me, and I'm going through them, from recollection mostly, going through my Sunday yesterday, watching all these games. And I almost forgot them. They are obviously in the conversation. They obviously were the last team standing undefeated this year until they finally got beat. They have a very good team. Their quarterback is electric. He's explosive. So just because they got pummeled yesterday without him doesn't mean that they're not still in the conversation. I think the AFC might have a limited pool of, 5 teams max that can really be in the conversation, and based on how the rest of the year goes, can kind of trade what position they're in. Whereas the NFC seems like there's a lot more teams that have a shot there. But I don't know. I guess you could say that about both. With the extra wild card team now, I guess both conferences have their upper echelon and then their lower. But if you look at the AFC, you have Tennessee at the very top, and you got to think they're a little more fragile than teams like Arizona and Dallas are on the other side. So I just think, there's more teams in the NFC side that could really be the number 1 or 2 team. Whereas in the AFC, you got one, it's kind of a precarious situation. We'll see what happens. They're all kind of trading barbs, and even if one winds up eking out the 1 seed, is there another team that can beat them? Like if Buffalo gets it, that's great, but can KC beat them? If Tennessee gets it, that's great, but can Buffalo beat them? I mean, there's a lot more. I think in the NFC, you're going to see, Dallas, Arizona, or whatever be really the last one standing. But we'll see. Like I said, Green Bay and everybody's in the conversation. It's hard to count anybody out, including LA. So it's a conversation. And it's just fun being a football fan right now. This is like, I wish Miami was in the conversation at the end of every year like this. I wish they were in the playoff hunt too, because it just makes it so much more fun, like the end of last year when we were. And we'll see this year if by some miracle teams lose and we rattle off a huge win streak. We'll see. But I always wish we're in it because it's one of the best times of the football season. I mean, even if we're not in it, is what I'm saying. Even if Miami's not in it, I just love watching this time of the year. It's just the weather's getting the way it is. The snow's coming down. The holidays are coming. You're getting around family and stuff, and the games become so important. And the playoffs are coming, and these storylines start to emerge, and these contenders start to emerge, and the pretenders start falling back, and you really start to get gearing up towards February, towards that Super Bowl, and it's just a heck of a march toward that. And it's just one of the better times of the year as a football fan. So it's really exciting. And so I just had a blast yesterday. I wanted to get on today and talk about it, even though I'm a little scatterbrained and even though I'm kind of just working off memory and kind of just throwing stuff out there at you. You know, I apologize. Sometimes I get comments on here like, oh, you know, you didn't quite get this stat, or you missed this. You didn't even think about this. So, look, I'm going to work right now. This is one of many things I do, but I try to give the best content I can to you guys. I don't come on here and BS. I don't come on here and just, you know, treat it like it's nothing. But, you know, at the same time, I'm a busy guy. So, you know, I can't have every single stat lined up and every single thing prepped, but I do my best from what I got up here. So I hope you enjoyed just kind of the talk tonight. 49ers Rams, and we were just talking about the Rams. And look, that's a division foe. So, you know, it's something to watch. It's something to watch, and see. So, you know, that's you know, in conference kind of thing, and you know, they're gonna fight it out no matter what. The Rams are looking to be contenders here, and so we'll see what how the 49ers play them. And, you know, there's a lot to watch because Odell Beckham Jr., who I said I didn't want in Miami, and I stick by that, you know, Odell Beckham Jr. is a Ram. So let's see what he does tonight. Let's see, you know, that's something to watch tonight. It's just fun. It's going to be something to see. And the Rams are trying to make it into contention, and San Francisco wants to hold them back. So that'll be a fun game to watch. But look, guys, if you enjoyed any of the content, whether you're a Dolphins fan or you're a fan of another team or you just like sports talk or whatever else, you just like to get a viewpoint from several different people, please smash that subscribe button. Smash that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Share this video with anybody else who's a football fan, anybody else who's a Dolphins fan. Share the video, like the video, and please subscribe to the video. There's a donation page on the front, on the main channel. You can click the donation page and donate anything you'd like. Every little bit helps for me to kind of keep developing the channel and getting more resources to make the channel better. But appreciate all you listening. Hope you have a really good, productive week. I will definitely talk to you towards the end of the week or the weekend. Like I said, I'll be at the Miami Dolphins game this week, so you'll get a little something from me, at least a little something from the game. Again, I don't think I can go live mobily yet. That's another reason we got to hit subscribe so we can get to those 1,000 subscribers and make a whole bunch of other things available to us. But in any event, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed talking football with me. Please comment your thoughts and opinions below. Smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, and smash this week. Hope you have a good and productive one. I'll talk to you very soon. Larry K, signing off.
I know you heard me on the radio, flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the